Ladies and gents, it's October 5th, and you know what that means? Absolutely nothing. It's just October 5th, that doesn't matter. But King, our Lord and Savior, the head creator of Naruto 5e, dropped some patch notes today, so let's talk about them. So King, being the super great guy that he is, actually gave us a patch note list instead of having to dig through the book and kind of show off things. I get to just read these cool little patch notes for y'all and kind of talk about them, go over them, that good thing. As it talks about here, just kind of the main focus. I would say a lot, but not even a lot. Some clans got changed, some classes got changed, some feats got changed. As for all of those changes, though, and we kind of talked about this also with the test document, for the most part, it's small balance changes. I think Medical-Nin probably got hit the hardest, and it even talks about this here. For the most part, one of the biggest things I think is they completely removed a subclass. But as for the other classes and things like that, yeah, for the most part, fairly small. More of a overview patch, just trying to even things out. This is just a theory, but I think we're waiting for a big Christmas kind of patch. That's just a theory. Don't come at me, but that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. So the way I'm going to divide this up, because it was the easiest for me and it's kind of how the patch notes were set up anyway, is we're going to sit here and talk kind of from book to book. So starting with the Shinobi Handbook, which is your main thing, kind of tells you how to play, how to create a character, all that stuff. A lot of the equipment got changed, but really just the higher quality versions. Kind of looking through Naruto 5e, being fairly versed in it at this point myself, I think this is very fair. A lot of them became a little more expensive because it didn't really line up where once you started getting the higher levels and higher versions of them, they did a lot of work and for not very much money. So I think there were some people that were kind of cheesing missions and things like that, really abusing equipment. We don't do it a whole lot in our campaigns, but I think that's just because we just haven't really tried to use it yet and don't realize how busted it is. Getting to our next thing here. We got armor and weapon seals and qualities and all that stuff. Again, cost increases. I think things were just too cheap. You can always control your own money in your games how you want to. Some seals got adjusted. I did look through these. Again, it's nothing major. It's mostly just small balance changes. It's nothing really to be worried about. A big thing for seals though is removing all defensive weapon seals from the game. So that is anything that upped your AC, anything that gave you resistances, anything that would maybe help you with saving throws, right? Things of that nature. All of those were removed, which I really, really liked because I felt that weapons being able to seal things into them to make you even more defensive, first off, didn't make a whole lot of sense for most of the weapons. And the other side too is I don't think you should be rewarded by upgrading your weapon with more defense, because then there was some cheese you could do where you would just have the dumbest character that would just be unhittable, untouchable, all that good stuff. Over here we got conditions. Now this is pretty easy. As you can see here, Weakened got switched. It has a new effect. And then Envenomed, which I found this really interesting, can no longer be applied as a result of poison passively. So for those of you that didn't know, with poisoned, if an enemy was already poisoned, you could choose to envenom them instead. And when doing that, it would give them that envenomed condition, taking damage over time. He does talk about here, though, that they're probably going to change poison, which I think is good. I think poison, at least the poisoned condition, is somewhat boring. It's effective, and it does its job, but he wants it to be a little more exciting, and that's why he even says doesn't feel fun or interesting. Over here, we got some taijutsu stances. The rabbit fist stance, which I'm not super versed in every single stance. I know the rabbit fist stance hit a lot, and so they were kind of having some problems with the damage die being increased and then it just pumping out numbers that were way too high too easily. So they're, talking about locking it at 4 unless you take a feat specifically. Will stance change to be, I don't know, better. Great description. And silent fist stance, you cannot just get free non-reactable attacks, which I think is good. I think things that remove reactions should be very niche and very specific, because that's a good way for dealing with enemies, or a good way for enemies to deal with you is to have reactions. So I like the idea of removing some of that, and he's kind of shown that with what he's done. Weapon stances, basically all of them got changed, and all of them pretty much got buffed. It even says excluding sharpshooter stance, how that got changed a little bit. But overall, weapon stances in general, looking better, looking nicer. Love to see it. Over here, we got the feats. As you can see here, and again, I looked through some of these, nothing super to note here. It was kind of just some minor tweaks, minor number changes. Like I know for chakra efficiency in general, it wasn't super powerful, so they amped it up a little bit because I've just been looking at that one a little bit for a little surprise. You know, I can't be dropping nothing yet. But in general, just kind of giving you an idea, small buffs, small changes, the good old. Now, hopping right into the next one, we got Orochimaru's Observation Compendium, basically the class book, talking about all your different classes. Again, small tweaks except for Medical-Nin. Medical-Nin was changed quite heftily, but going over it real quick. Genjutsu guys, they got buffed and nerfed. Their actualization, which is like using their actualization dies and things like that, get a little more bonus damage. I think that's fine. Hallucinatory Instrument no longer provides AoE buffs. I think that is good. I think Genjutsu AoE is already really strong, and giving it more buffs was already asking for some trouble. Next we got Hunter-Nin. This is so nice, and I'm gonna have to talk to Hudson about possibly shifting to the new book, because Hunter-Nins are again getting buffed. Their Hunter exploits now scale, so their Hunter exploits start not as good and then get better, which is just nice, because as you hit later, some of them are a little harder to use, a little less effective. And then Foxen, you can no longer take the class mod or clan traits. It's, you know, you're already powerful. You don't need more. The good old proceed. Intelligence op over here. We got all plans updated and added from test document. Most of the plans, they basically just, one thing I really liked that they did actually is they split the plans into like having their normal version and their like buffed version when you spin two things. And they kind of just made that a little clearer. Nothing really changed, honestly, a whole lot there. And the combination upgrade fixed to instead by -10. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you what the allied combination upgrade is, but hey, it's fixed to instead by -10. So take that for what you will. Over here we got Medical-Nin, and again, they don't specify here, but quite hefty changes. This was the focus, as it said earlier. He spent over 45 days really changing the Medical-Nin class, trying to make it a little better. Some parts stronger, some parts weaker. I think trying to kind of lock its place down, because like I talked about previously, it felt like you never really needed a Medical-Nin, because as long as you took the feat to learn medical jutsu, you'd be fine. You know, like you could kind of do what they did anyway, and they would turn out to be like a weaker ninjutsu specialist kind of thing, you know? So tried to convert. You'd have to look through the whole test document for everything. Like I said, biggest thing is they lost the subclass. Over here we got ninjutsu specialist. Reduce some of the bonus damage for fire release. I think that is a healthy thing. Fire release, if you haven't looked through, already has so much damage. Fire release is already known for big numbers, so having bonus on top of that was really effective. Professor, changed effect, final lesson, which I think is cool. I think the Professor overall is a very neat class, but it's for a very specific type of person, because it's all about learning the different nature releases and that kind of thing. So I think it's good to tweak it a little bit. And Tsunami, which were the people all about worrying about water, they got the most heavily changed, but again, they're trying to make the Nin, the subclass of the ninjutsu specialist, a little more on par with the other ones, trying to reel them in. Scout Nin over here, signature ramping now only applies once per casting, which was good because you could get some really stupid stuff. Whenever you would start multi-hitting with that, the bonus damage would just be stupid. It wasn't even funny. And then Elemental Strike now works for all jutsus. Good. Small buff, small change. More of a quality of life thing, I'd say, but it does overall buff Scout Nin. Love to see it. Last but not least, for our class book, Science Nin. I'm going to keep a buck with you. I haven't read that much in Science Nin. This is probably the one class I have the least knowledge in. Even Chef Nin and the Puppet Nin, I have a pretty good idea of. Science Nin, I just don't. I've looked through it a little bit. The problem is every campaign I've been a part of has been like pre-Boruto era, so they don't really have access to science stuff. So if you want to read through it, now's your chance. You can kind of go through. Listen, I don't want to speak on it because I don't know. I'd be talking out of my bunghole trying to come up with something for you. And last but not least, in Jiraiya's book, which was the Jutsu Compendium, it has all the different jutsus you can use. They nerfed Breath of Thunder / Sparks. No more non-reaction. That's the only nerf. Oh, you can see he kind of goes in. A lot of people feel like this jutsu's a little powerful. but I appreciate just the no more non-reaction. Again, like I talked about earlier, I think they're trying to push in a direction where only specific things will allow you to make something non-reactable or take away reactions, things of that nature. And I think part of the problem of this jutsu was exactly that it was really, really powerful and you couldn't react and do anything about it. So it was kind of just assuredly powerful. Whereas now, you know, if you have as a DM, if you have a player abusing this jutsu, you can just create a character that has a reaction to kind of deal with it and handle that. And they got to be creative and come up with something else. And there you have it. That is all your patch notes for you. I tried to make this as short and sweet as possible. And they already have the books updated, so if you go on the Naruto 5e official Discord and you download those books and use them, they're all updated. It has all the new stuff for you. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. I'm always here for it. I, try to help out where I can. And per usual, drop a sub for me, okay? I knew y'all wanted to get into this one, so I try not to ask in the beginning of the video, let it slide, but if you could, it would mean the world. Community is growing, channel's growing. I love it. You guys are awesome, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace out.